Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 647, NFL Draft Recap and Shogun Finale. Big Chillians, welcome back to the Big Chill Podcast. I'm Frank Sama, joined by Eddie Sun, here to discuss the season finale of Shogun, I hope.
I don't know why, but Eddie Sun, I hope. I don't.
Because I have the higher status. I'm the Sama. You're just the Sun.
Okay. You are older than me, so
there you go.
That would already contribute to your Sama status.
Yep.
But
you just get
how are you?
I'm doing all right. I got the Giants I got to watch the Giants get the new Odell Beckham Jr., where he'll come in and have a good few seasons and probably be overhyped. But no, I mean, I think obviously that we'll probably talk about first is the first round of the NFL draft, which started to go to chalk, which I really enjoyed because everything I had listened to, everyone had said like, oh, it's going to be such a chaotic draft. There's going to be this trade and that trade and this trade. There's no way it's going to go to chalk. And then like the first 5 picks, like were literally like, I could have picked that 5 months ago. If someone had said like, hey, what are the first 5 picks are going to be? Like, I honestly could have easily said that. But then it just got chaotic once it got to, I guess, the Falcons, who have a knack now for just strange, weird picks, set the draft ablaze.
Yeah, it was an interesting. Obviously, they took Michael Penix Jr. and in and of itself, like if you view that, if you'd just gone, I don't know, end of last season, that would have maybe made sense for them. But on the back of them signing Kirk Cousins, it seems slightly strange. Like I feel sort of sorry for Kirk Cousins, to be perfectly honest with you, because I think.
Well, let me ask you this though: did you feel sorry for Aaron Rodgers when they drafted Jordan Love?
Well, I think it's different though, because Aaron Rodgers was an established quarterback. Like Aaron Rodgers knew that was his job in essence to lose. Like either he was going to choose to leave the Packers or he was going to have to play so badly that it became up for grabs. I think the Penix Kirk Cousins situation now, like that's a legitimate quarterback contest, no matter what the Falcons are going to say. And certainly if you're Kirk Cousins, you probably feel like it's a ticking clock now until they at least want to see what they have in Penix.
I don't see that. I see it very similar to the Rodgers. Like this is the model I think a lot of teams maybe should be doing. And I mean, I think the bigger question is Penix the one you take there that's worth it? But I mean, I like this model of bring a QB in, let him sit for 2 to 3 years, learn from a very, very good veteran, someone who's been around, who's established, who's maybe Kirk Cousins isn't elite, but he's a higher end quarterback who obviously is well known for like being like a film junkie, an NFL junkie, very good in the locker room. So like, I kind of like that model. And I think as long as everyone is on the same page, I think this can be a very successful model. I think the bigger question is I think he's 23 or 24-year-old Michael Penix with 2 torn ACLs and a shoulder surgery going to be a guy who's playing if he starts, let's say at 26, is he going to be a guy who plays for 10 years or was it kind of a waste because he's only going to get 5 years out of that? I think like, I don't mind this draft someone and let them sit.
Yeah, but
learn.
Right. But there's a middle ground there because like the extreme is draft someone when you have Aaron Rodgers or draft someone if, there's been a host of examples. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was in himself an example when they took him when Brett Favre was there. That's different. You have an established quarterback and you're basically saying to this person, look very clearly, you are the backup here. Perhaps you're the one for the future, but you are so much of a backup in this situation that by the time we need someone for the future, might be someone else for the future. Like that is the situation that you now find yourself in. Because Kirk Cousins is not established in any way whatsoever with the Falcons, because Kirk Cousins has a history of inconsistent play, and because the Falcons also might not be that good. I mean, it's very easy to like bring someone into an established system, established quarterback. You kind of know what the expectations are within the team. Are you really telling me that there aren't going to be calls for Penix to start if the Falcons are 3-7?
They might still be first in the division though.
But that to me is, even if everyone says they're on the same page internally, like I don't think, when I say it's a quarterback competition, I don't mean as in this offseason they think that Penix is going to be starting. But I think if you're Kirk Cousins, you definitely, no matter what they say to you, think if there is any moment in time when my play drops below not elite level, but certainly like top 10 quarterback in the league, top 15 quarterback in the league level, then I could lose my job here. And if I get hurt and this guy comes in and he plays well, I'm probably not getting my job back. Like, I think that's very different to, hey, if the Chiefs draft someone and tell him, hey, look, you're Patrick Mahomes' backup, learn from him, appreciate it. Like I think it's different.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess we're differing on what we think of how established Kirk Cousins is in the Falcons. I mean, I think a team that pays someone $180 million over 4 years is saying you are the established starter, whether he is day one or he's been there for 8 years. I mean, you're giving him a massive contract that's your contract, and it's 2 years. Most of that money is guaranteed. So I do see maybe in year 3, like then you start to get that. Do we keep him on this contract or do we cut him loose and then let Penix go? But I think, in these first 2 years, the way I see it is they're bringing in an established top end veteran to lead this team for at least the next 2 years and have someone sit and learn from that. Like I feel he's established in the Falcons. And I understand you're saying he's not because he's never been on the team before.
Yeah, you can say he's established himself as an NFL starter. He's definitely not established at the Falcons, right? Like he's never played a snap for them. So, there's any sort of credibility that he may have. But put it this way, there's been the meme like doing the rounds over the past couple of weeks, which is this is the third team that Kirk Cousins has declared, I want to retire as a blank. Said I wanted to retire at Washington. I want to retire in Minnesota. And now it's I want to retire in Atlanta. So if you're Kirk Cousins, you're aware of that fact. So, this is like, it's different in that he hasn't previously been ousted by young quarterbacks. That's not been his undoing. But you're drawing parallels to the like Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love situations. I think this is almost closer to Russell Wilson, Matt Flynn at the Seahawks. Now, okay, Flynn was whatever, $20 million for what a season or two, whatever they signed him to. It's not quite the same financial investment, but it's still hey, look, if this young guy, if he in training camp is just off the charts, then, maybe we give him a go. Oh, okay, it turns out he's really pretty good. Sorry, Kirk Cousins, like, you're kind of old. You've actually never proven yourself in terms of deep playoff runs. We'll give this guy a spin. We want to know what we've got in Penix now. Like, we're kind of in a rebuilding phase to a certain degree still. Let's see if this is our quarterback for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, I guess time will just tell like how much they want to push the envelope or let Kirk Cousins kind of go. But I mean, it's a weird move to me, more for the fact that I really like Michael Penix, but I just I was always very high on him in college, but I just don't know with his injuries and with everything going on, he's not nearly as mobile as he was when he was at Indiana. He's kind of just a sit drop back quarterback now. Like, I don't know if that's the right guy to take at that spot, especially when their offense isn't bad. Like they have a decent offense. They have no defense, like one good defensive player. And I understand also it wasn't a great defensive draft. So maybe that plays into
we
part,
don't know.
But then trade down. If you really think that there's no good defensive player to take in the top 10, then trade down a little bit. Because obviously the Vikings were looking to take McCarthy. So they traded up a spot. They probably could have traded with them. They could have traded with the Broncos. I don't know.
We don't know on that, right? Because the Minnesota trades up on the back of Penix being taken. So you could say, like, yes, probably if you really liked Penix, like this goes back to the discussion. The reason why you hated the Daniel Jones pick a couple of years ago with the Giants. If they were in love with Michael Penix, I think there is a strong possibility here they probably could have traded back 10 spots, 12 spots in the draft, maybe even into round 2. Because, the other quarterbacks like J.J. McCarthy and Bo Nix were both drafted just after, but that's obviously the end of the quarterbacks in round 1. No other team really had a strong quarterback need after that. And, but I guess you could say, like, if you really like him, do you run the risk that you trade back and then Minnesota takes Michael Penix and you're like, well, actually, we don't like J.J. McCarthy that much. So now we're drafting a quarterback because we thought we wanted Michael Penix, or now we're not drafting a quarterback. And then if Michael Penix turns out to be great, 6 years from now, there's this whole story of like, well, we wanted him, but we just signed Kirk Cousins. And then people are going to be pointing to, and Kirk Cousins in 3 seasons with the Falcons won 12 games. Like, great short-term thinking, Falcons. And look, the other surprise, I guess, there was some speculation that the Giants might take a quarterback, opted not to do so. You've obviously already referred to the fact that they took a wide receiver. It does pretty much guarantee that Daniel Jones is going to be certainly the starter for the start of the season, whether or not he manages to finish the season as the starter of the Giants. But that's an interesting one. I can't rule out a scenario right now that we see like Kirk Cousins being the Giants starter.
Oh, I love that. Now. I'll take that.
Penix establishes himself at the Falcons, and next summer it's like, you know what? Do you want to take Kirk Cousins' contract in exchange for a 5th round pick? Does that sound fair?
I mean, I'm actually okay with the pick. If the Giants were to take a quarterback, I would have preferred them to take one of the top 2 or 3. Like I'd rather get a very, very good wide receiver, because Harrison, Nabers, and Odunze are all like very, very highly rated receivers. And I would rather that take like a blue chip receiver that could potentially be the next, even if it is the next Odell Beckham, that'd be fantastic. Like that'd be great. The next Justin Jefferson, that's obviously a little overreaching, but that caliber, I will take that over the risk of taking someone like J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix to be your next franchise quarterback at the 6th pick. To me, just isn't worth it. And I know you say like, if it doesn't matter what the pick is considering, but I do think there is like, you need to pick the value at what it is. Like, no, don't waste it. And like, I do think the Giants wasted that Daniel Jones pick, and that's hurt them now for 5 years, not because Daniel Jones sucks, because they could have gotten better players and surrounded a better team. But so I'm okay with that. I'd rather the wide receiver, an elite wide receiver, than the risk of a J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, or Michael Penix. But it does bring up the point that Daniel Jones now is the starter.
You say this, so you say it's the kind of potentially safer pick because of how good this wide receiver class is. But a lot of information came out over the course of the build up to this draft. Looked at some sort of deeper dives into success rate of picks in different positions. I don't know if you've seen any of this information. Some of it was circulating. Some of it I've kind of tried.
Well, we went through it. We went through the first wide receiver drafted off the board every year in the last 10 years.
No, but this is a much closer look. So this, for example, if you look 2009, the year 2000 through to the year 2019, so any player from that point on has to have had signed his 2nd contract. Wide receiver is the worst position you can take in terms of a 1st round pick's likelihood of signing a second contract with your team. So only 27% of the time does a wide receiver taken in the first round sign a second contract with the team that drafted him.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel though about that statistic.
Do you want to guess what the safest pick is in terms of the likelihood that they sign a second contract with you is?
I'm going to say, are they lumping all offensive linemen together?
No.
I mean, maybe it's quarterback or maybe it's tackle.
So it's center. So in those 20 seasons, I guess, 12 centers were taken in the first round. 11 of them signed a second contract.
How many wide receivers were taken in the first round of those 10 years?
77.
Yeah, there we go.
but there's wide receiver is not the largest sample size. So the largest sample size, for example, is edge rushers. And there the success rate in terms of second contract being signed is 44%. So you're approaching double the success rate of wide receivers with a larger sample size. Like, there's some of the sample sizes are very small. Center sample size, only 12. Tight ends, only 24. Guards, only 28. But most of the sample sizes are at least in the mid 40s or higher. The majority sort of in the 50 to 60 range. So it's a large enough sample size to have some significance.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you can think that when you think of wide receivers, a lot of them don't stay. But I think the other issue is, what is the lifespan of a wide receiver? Because I think that's, wide receivers, I feel like those first 5 years in their rookie contract are really good. And then there's not many good veteran wide receivers. How many wide receivers over age 32 are there?
Well, that's way past their second contract, though. This is literally saying how many guys are making it to year 5, basically, right? So how many good you're supposed to be hitting your prime. Like you would expect. It is definitely disappointing because the other way to look at this, which I did get into the data of, is like conversion to future Pro Bowlers, which is also useful because that gives them the whole career. It removes contract issues, salary cap issues. The downside of that is it might make someone kind of seem like a bust, even though they're not. So, for example, Josh Allen, by that metric, doesn't look great because he's not getting selected because of the competition he faces in his position at quarterback in his conference. But I don't think any Buffalo Bills fans would say Josh Allen is a bust. So there is a need for some greater context and nuance to these statistics, but the wide receivers do stand out because, like, to kind of combat your point about, well, the longevity, running backs are a far safer pick based on this. So there have been 48 running backs taken in that time period in the first round, and 18 of them signed a second contract. So 38% compared to 27% with wide receivers. You could have a little bit of nuance, which is like wide receivers get paid more. So, there are other factors for sure, but everyone talked up this can't miss wide receiver class. And the reality is we're probably going to get an elite wide receiver out of it, but we might only get one, and it might not be the one we think it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. It could be a white guy out of Florida who's drafted by the Niners.
Yeah, I didn't love that pick.
I think that seals the deal that Ayuk or Samuel's gone.
I think Samuel's probably, but you say that, but I mean, the reason why it does, sort of bring up that possibility is obviously there's a lot of cap pressure with the Niners. They don't really have the space necessary to sign everybody. I think all the noises coming out of their camp is that they would prefer to have Ayuk stay over keeping Samuels. Like Debo has had a slight drop off over the last year or so in terms of his output. He obviously disappeared. It's true. I'm just saying. I'm in my. If it's me,
do you have my?
Where's Debo?
You have it.
If it's me, I think I would just go again. Like there, I would just say we got stacked offensive weapons for this season.
Yeah, but you can't keep him under the salary. You can't do that.
You can for one.
You know what? The Chiefs are going to get Tyreek Hill back just because. Why not? Let's stack the offense.
You can for one more year. There's not as if between now and September they are facing unmanageable cap pressure, but I think Debo is the likely one to probably get traded. I think this is like the move, right, to try and clear cap space to sign Ayuk, who was definitely the Niners' number one receiver last year over Debo. Like, there's no debating that, and that played out very obviously over the course of the playoffs as well. And I would say you think the relationship between Purdy and Ayuk is better than the relationship between Purdy and Debo. I don't mean on a personal level, but in terms of, understanding each other, finding each other, and that's such a key element within the dynamic for a quarterback and a receiver. I didn't love that pick. I wasn't super excited. I have to admit, I didn't watch a ton of Florida games last year, and going back to what sounds like a very successful pick, is it a 24-year-old white receiver? Probably doesn't usually sound like the makings of success, but I don't know if you saw CJ Stroud was on like a live stream, and he was heartbroken that the Texans were not going to get him, and he was like, "This guy, that was my guy. He's elite." So that's an interesting one. I don't know how much, like, as good as CJ Stroud was in his rookie year, he's not been around long enough for us to use him as like a barometer to judge future wide receiver potential. Like, if that had been Tom Brady, I would have maybe thought that would have had added weight for me.
He probably has good experience knowing what good wide receivers are, though. He had a pretty stacked wide receiver core in Ohio State.
And at the Texans. Like, he's been blessed in his career to play so far with very talented wide receivers. So you're right. Like, he can probably know what a good one is and isn't. But that was the only thing. I have to admit, I was feeling pretty down about it. And then I saw that and I was like, okay, maybe I've got to give this guy a chance. The scouting report on him is pretty mixed. It's like very accurate route runner, elite speed, easily muscled off his routes though, and also like small catch radius. Yeah. So like it's a strange combination of sort of draft feedback, scouting report feedback, to then think that he should be a first round draft pick.
Well, that was similar to the buzz after the Chiefs pick when they took Xavier Worthy, the wide receiver out of Texas who ran the fastest combine ever, 4.21, blah, blah, blah. And like, he's the next Tyreek Hill. Oh my God, they got another weapon. The difference is this guy, yes, he's also small like Tyreek Hill, but he's like 155 pounds. Tyreek Hill is like 190. Like, for a smaller guy, Tyreek Hill is pretty jacked and is strong. This guy, when you watch his film, he's got like spaghetti arms. He's going to take one hit in the NFL and they're going to knock his fucking forearm off. Literally, his forearms is going to come off his body after one hit. Like, I hate when people just make the comparison because someone's fast. Like, Tyreek Hill is good, yes, because he's fast, but that's not the only reason Tyreek Hill is good. He has many other attributes that make him a great wide receiver.
For sure. I guess the thing with the Chiefs, right, that's automatically intimidating is just, and it's not true because everyone's like, well, if you go into the Chiefs system, you become an efficient receiver. Tell that to Tony, who people were just like shitting on all last year. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't automatically make you a Pro Bowl wide receiver, but I guess, with the system in terms of like how creative Andy Reid is in terms of trying to maximize the talents of the players he has available to him, and then obviously the threat of Patrick Mahomes, you do feel like, they took a wide receiver pretty early. That must mean that this guy is going to be good. Now, I feel like we've been down this path before with the Chiefs in terms of running backs, which have really not translated into sort of established NFL running backs for the most part. Like, I have a season or two where things are not so bad, but everyone gets excited because they see powerful offense combined with early draft pick offensive weapon must be a match made in heaven. And again, often is not.
Yeah. And I guess I have to slightly pick on the Denver Broncos for just taking the next iteration of Drew Lock. Like it is like it's unbelievable. They picked the least flashy quarterback, and like yeah, flash doesn't matter for a quarterback, but it is like just such a stereotypical Broncos pick. It's like this guy who could be walking next to you on the street and you wouldn't know he's a quarterback.
Yeah, I just think Russell Wilson aside, right? It just feels like that's who, you had Drew Lock. They briefly had Joe Flacco, right? Kind of falls into that category. Case Keenum falls into that category. Trevor Siemian kind of falls into that category. They had the brief flirtation with Brock Osweiler, also falls into that category. So they do just have this random assortment of sort of average looking quarterbacks. It's very on brand for them over the last, like, Russell Wilson's the outlier, and they immediately regretted that decision. and
Yeah.
and then they're like, we better go back to the thing that makes us comfortable.
It's like someone needs to tell them like you don't have to have John Elway a quarterback. Like you can get someone who doesn't look like John Elway.
I think the problem is someone would have to tell John Elway that, and I think he doesn't want to hear that.
And then I guess the Bears with the two big picks, the first and the ninth, now could potentially have a top 10 offense after being a bottom 5 offense with Caleb Williams and then signing Keenan Allen and then having DJ Moore and then picking up Rome Odunze. So could have one of the best wide receiver trios, if not the best in the league already. It'll be interesting. I guess the offensive line will be the question. Is it going to be another Joe Burrow situation where Burrow has great offensive weapons, but is just getting his ass beat every day?
No, I mean, it was hard to not look at, like, you walked away from that. It felt like they'd done like a fantasy draft or like a Madden draft almost of what would you hope to get out of this, and to get, the consensus best quarterback in the draft, potentially generational talent, combined with someone who, like, okay, the focus from a wide receiver's perspective was on Marvin Harrison Jr., but then there's still a lot of people who are actually like, oh, you never know, like Odunze might be the better NFL wide receiver. So yeah, they look stacked. And we love to have this conversation. We can have this way too early now, best division in football, but there's suddenly a chance that the NFC North, which was terrible for a long period of time, but now, like, if you imagine if Jordan Love continues to get better and the Packers keep getting better and the Detroit Lions are legitimate Super Bowl contenders, and then if you throw in an up-and-coming Bears team, that's probably the best division, like the toughest division in football right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's relying heavily on J.J. McCarthy to be anything than a drop-back handoff quarterback, but
those three teams could be...
You potentially have 3 legitimately very good teams.
Like those 3 teams could be so good within the next year or two that the Vikings can be terrible. It's like when we used to talk about the NFC West, it was like, well, the Cardinals are awful, but that doesn't matter. Like the division as a whole is still great. So yeah, I mean, it's quite the transformation in that division in the space of 12 to 18 months. Speaking of the Lions, can I just say, like, the intro to that draft was just some of the cringiest shit I've seen in ages. Like,
I missed the intro.
Oh, I mean,
Eddie, keep in mind, chicks don't dig NFL draft opening ceremonies.
Does not get them as excited as the Olympics.
Women are not a fan of that.
But already, I think you're a unique human being to want to go to the NFL draft. Like, that's...
Did you see the number?
Oh, yeah, it was huge. The turnout was incredible.
275,000 people. A quarter of a million people. For what?
The only way that makes sense to me is if, like, it's in your city and maybe you have the number 1 pick. Like, this is going to be a moment. Like, I want to be there when we drafted Peyton Manning. Like that kind of scenario. But to be the Lions, where it's like, oh, this draft itself is kind of incidental to how good we are as a team. But so, like, I'm a Lions fan. This isn't a big thing. It's crazy. Like I can't imagine. I remember, cast our minds back like 10 years 10 years ago when I went to a bar in Ohio to watch the NFL draft and the bar was packed in Cleveland. That blew my mind. That was people just sitting in a bar drinking, and I already thought that was weird. But to go and stand in a public place, like just shoulder to shoulder, squeezed in with other people to watch a painfully slow process.
Well, now
Like
it's a little quicker, which is nice.
It's a little for.
It used to be like 20 minutes on the clock.
But already, like, it killed me. I get that as the draft progresses, it should get slower because you have to react to what other teams have done, and there's more likely that offers are going to be coming in. But the Bears took 8 minutes to submit their pick. And then, like the next couple of picks, the Cardinals were the first one to just be like, there we go. Yeah, we knew we were taking Marvin Harrison. We don't need to waste time building the drama for, and I'm sure that kills the NFL Network, who are wanting this incredibly long, drawn out TV production that they can then have their talking heads fill the void with. But it's so slow. I mean, I was contemplating staying up for the entire first round, and I got to pick 13. And
didn't even make halfway.
No, that was 4 a.m. for me. And then not only I then did the thought, started to do the calculation in my head.
You're not a true fan.
I was like, there's 19 more picks. Let's just say they average 7 minutes of selection. This is going to be a long time. So I can catch up. I can read it in the morning. But yeah, it was.
Yeah, but what
tough.
you can't do, Eddie, is you can't hear Mel Kiper talk about everyone's hand size. That guy was on a hand size rant yesterday. 3 picks in a row. Not only does he say like big hands, he then follows it up with like another hand comment. I forget. I can't remember. It was one of the offensive tackles. I think it might have been Joe Alt or one of the other ones who's like, Joe Alt, he's got huge hands. Those big hands, they push players away with those big, massive hands of his. He said it like 3 times. And then when he got I think it was, what quarterback was it that has big hands? He talked about that for like 5 minutes. It might have been Penix. He's like, Penix, huge hands. You got those big hands around the ball. Those hands create a great spiral with those big hands. It's like, just stop, dude.
If you want to talk about body parts that put me off draft picks slightly, though, talking of Joe Alt, did you see him stand up from his chair? I know he's like 6'8", 6'9", and getting out of a chair at that size cannot be an easy thing, but he looked so unathletic in that moment that if I had drafted him, I would have been like, can we take that back? Like, can we be back on the clock, please? Because those look like the knees of a 45-year-old man, and he hasn't played a single snap in the NFL. Like, going back to the possibility of him seeing a second contract, that made me feel less confident. The only thing I will say, again, if people search out this clip, we'll try and reshare it on the Big Chill Twitter or Instagram, so that, good plug, you can follow us there and you'll get to see what I'm talking about. His girlfriend, who he hugs first, again, factoring in that he's like 6'8" or 6'9", she's 6 foot plus. Like that, it threw me off because, again, you're judging the proportions of other people and you can't process it properly. She looks kind of small, and then you're like, but they hug, and she's at his shoulders, so she's pretty big. I'm not saying that in a negative way. She's very slight, looked very pretty, but it just threw me off because you saw her sitting down, and I was expecting this like 5'6" human being to stand up. You're like, oh my god, if I do the math here quickly, she is also a very tall person.
All right, I just watched a video. I think you're slightly overreacting on him getting out of the chair. It's more of, I think he's like a little emotional, and he's like, oof, and he's like kind of like taking in the moment. It's not him trying to get momentum to get out of the chair. I think he's just like kind of rocking in the excitement. No, I will though say his girlfriend is pretty tall. She goes up to his shoulders, which doesn't sound tall, but when you're 6'9", if you're going up to someone's shoulders, that's pretty tall.
Like, again, second podcast in the row that I get to drop. I'm 6'2". I don't think I'm at the shoulders of a 6'9" human being. You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm below shoulder height in that situation. So she has to be pretty tall. I'm assuming she's probably a Notre Dame athlete or something. You know, not to jump to assumptions, but if she's not, she's wasting a genetic gift in that height. But look, you can go for the positive. He was overwhelmed by the moment. I'm going to go draft bust. I'm just going to say right now, this is my way too early prediction based on very limited information and knowledge. Joe Alt, bust.
So even his girlfriend is a track and field athlete on Drake University.
There we go.
She runs distance, though.
I mean, that's surprising. But if those two stick together and if they have children, those are going to be some giants. Those are going to be some big human beings. Like, this could be a real sort of dynasty of alt professional athletes.
So my last comment about other things related to the draft, does Commissioner Goodell, does he have really bad dentures? Because I don't know if you heard him announcing the picks, but some of them were just horrific. Like, for instance, he was like, with the 28th pick of the NFL draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Xavier Horsey.
Our listeners will love that. That's just what you want on your morning commute to be pumped into your ears.
Well, that's what I heard for 4 hours on ESPN.
He definitely had what appeared to be like slightly slurred.
Was he drunk?
Affected speech, maybe. Big chill breaking news. Roger Goodell was drunk during the NFL draft.
He also messed up a lot. Maybe he was drunk. He messed up like a good 6 or 7 times.
But equally, this is why you missed out on like the cringe fest pre-draft, because it was him trying to interact with Eminem. He still had that kind of affected speech going on. He was just calling like, all right, M, do your thing. It was like very awkward. Eminem, like obviously knows how to manipulate a crowd. He was fine. But then a handful of Lions players, past and present, came out, and it was awful. Like, they should all be ashamed of themselves for how embarrassing it was. The only one who handled himself, well, Calvin Johnson was just kind of Calvin Johnson, just typical, like in a t-shirt, didn't seem to give a shit about the situation he was in, just dragged out because he's the most famous.
Did I play football?
Yeah. But Barry Sanders was there, and whilst the current Detroit Lions teams just like awkwardly tried to pump up the crowd, Barry Sanders just did a very normal, like, hey, Detroit, thank you for coming out. Yeah, let's show them how much we love football. And then moved on. Like, it was the only thing that should have been said at all. But, it made me... I'm down on the Lions based on what I saw from them on stage last night.
Oh, when you have a cornball for a coach.
And a cornball at quarterback. I mean, that was...
All right, I've got the video, so after the podcast, I will watch the video. I found it. It is on YouTube. It is 5 minutes long, so I'm assuming that's what you're talking about.
I'm sure it is. But no, it'll be interesting to see, obviously, what happens in round 2. I think this is where we'll start to see a little bit of the trade frenzy really start, because there's still a little bit of talent left there, certainly in a few key positions. And then it's interesting to see teams like the Niners, if they do try and dump some salary cap in exchange for draft capital. But yeah, I love it because I love the instant grades people give, even though we know there's no way you could possibly accurately assess the impact these players are going to have. Like, you go back a few years, you'd been like, Trey Lance, great pick for the Niners. Brock Purdy, who's he? Won't be relevant. It's like, there's the fact that people make a living, like going back to your Mel Kiper point, the fact that some people make a living only talking about the draft, even though their hit rate must be in single percentage figures. Like, they're gonna bring up the time they were like, in 2014, I really nailed it when I was high on this guy, and he had a pretty good career. But most of the time, it's like, how successful are you at predicting who was a good pick outside the first 6 players?
I mean, I'll give you a great example. So Bleacher Report just put one up this morning, and I looked at Caleb Williams, A, Drake May, A, Jaden Daniels, B. So all of a sudden now, the Redskins, Jesus, I still do it. Whoa. Oh my God.
Cancelled.
Well, there's talk it's coming back.
No, there's talk the name is changing, but there's not talk that that's coming back. But yeah, there's speculation that they will be ditching the Commanders.
the Commanders, who also needed a quarterback, all of a sudden get a full letter grade worse than the Patriots, who also needed a quarterback, and both people, we have no idea how good Drake May or Jaden Daniels are going to be. And if you watch college football and had to say, like, if you ask someone who only watched college who's the better quarterback, they would tell you Jaden Daniels. I'm not a huge Jaden Daniels fan, but like in college, he was clearly a more accomplished quarterback. So the A to B there is crazy to me. And then Michael Penix, Falcons, F, like instant F. But the Vikings, JJ McCarthy, A. So you think the Vikings getting JJ McCarthy is better than the Commanders getting Jaden Daniels? Like, why?
I guess not to defend them, because I think it's all garbage. I guess you would say, yeah, you got to give them a lower grade because it wasn't a real positional need. So you've sort of potentially wasted a first round pick. No, the Falcons with Penix.
Oh yeah. The Falcons,
so like giving them an
F strong.
F is still strong because he could turn out to be really good. So you can't possibly. But yeah, it's just, I love it that people make a living out of this because. And a lot of people, this isn't like every major sports network in the US has someone whose primary job is basically this. And yet you'd go year after year and go like, okay, let's look at what you predicted for the first 6 quarterbacks drafted. Who are you highest on? Who are you lowest on? And they're probably right 50, 40, 30% of the time. You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't have been like, yeah, Josh Allen's going to be the best quarterback out of that draft. Or, you know, like, Trevor Lawrence is actually going to be the only decent quarterback out of his draft, but even he's not necessarily going to be generational. You know, like you can be right while still being wrong, because everyone would probably point to like, I knew Trevor Lawrence was the best quarterback in the draft. It's like, yeah, but everyone else sucked. Like you didn't say that much, you know, like this is the issue.
Yeah. So I guess to wrap it up, 6 quarterbacks taken in the first 12 picks. That's an NFL record. And 14 straight offensive players taken to start the draft, which is an NFL record as well.
Only the 4th time in history that a quarterback has gone 1, 2, 3 to start the draft. Would you like to be quizzed on that? Do you think you can?
No way.
I'll give you a clue. One of them was very, very recent. Does that help?
Was it the Stroud year?
No, the year of one of the players I just mentioned, the Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence, guys. Right?
2021. So you had Trevor Lawrence first. Can you remember who went second?
Yeah, Zach Wilson.
And can you remember who went third?
Yeah, he's not in the NFL anymore, is he?
Trey Lance, yes. So again, you go back to that, you know, very low success rate there. The first time it ever happened was in 1971. The quarterbacks picked then. Jim Plunkett was taken first.
I was going to try and guess.
Do you want to guess either of the other two? One of them is famous. Very famous.
So 70 what? 71?
1971, yeah.
So that's like Dan Fouts-ish era. He's famous. So he's like a good QB.
He's more famous than he was good, if that's a clue. He was good, but he's more famous than he was good.
Not Joe Theismann, or
no,
not Namath.
I'll give you the other one. Archie, you got it there. Archie Manning was chosen number 2 by the Saints, and Dan Pastorini was taken number 3.
Oof.
And then the only other year, other than this one, where it happened was the 1999 NFL draft. Do you want to take a guess? Can you remember who went in the 99 draft?
Can you give me the schools they went to?
One of them, but give me and I can give it to you for all of them. So you have number 1 was a player from Kentucky. Number 2 was a player from Syracuse. And number 3 was a player from Oregon.
Ooh, okay. The Syracuse player is definitely Donovan McNabb.
Correct.
Tim Couch went to Kentucky, I think.
Number 1, drafted by the Cleveland Browns.
What was the other third again?
Oregon.
Oregon. It's not Joey Harrington. That was after.
No. Do you want the initials? Do you want the team that drafted him? Which would you prefer as a clue?
Initials.
AS.
Ass.
Well, I think there's fans of the Cincinnati Bengals who might agree with you on that one. But do you want to take?
Oh, Achilles Smith.
Correct. So yeah, if you think there,
Yeah, he did go to Oregon.
Quarterback's taken 1, 2, 3, and then just after that, you could have had Edgerrin James, Ricky Williams, Champ Bailey. Dante Culpepper was taken with the 11th pick. I would have rather Culpepper than
Is that Marshall?
Couch or Smith.
Culpepper? Was he in Marshall?
He was at UCF.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Some breaking news, taking us away from the NFL, though. This isn't really interesting breaking news. I was watching the IPL a little bit earlier today. I do like it while I work. The Indian Premier League, for those not familiar, cricket, T20 cricket. Just some outrageous scores being made at the moment, including today, where the Kolkata Knight Riders in the first inning scored 261 runs for the loss of 6 wickets. And the Punjab Kings, potentially the worst team in the IPL at the moment, chased it down, scoring 262 for 2 in 18.4 overs, including Johnny Bairstow scoring 108 off 48 balls. Shashank Singh came in towards the end and scored 68 off 28. To give you a context on what the...
Were you bowling?
I could have done better, I think. Going from 16... I'll start you from the end of the 16th over, at which point they needed 52 from 24 balls, which based on the way the scoring was going, obviously made them overwhelming favorites even at that point. But still, that is 13 runs and over, which usually you would give yourself a decent chance of defending over the course of 4 overs. It went dot 6, dot 6, dot 6. One wide, 6, 6.
Oh, that
4,
wide is killer. That wide cost them the match.
4, 1, 6. 6, 1, 1, 1, game over. I mean, just unbelievable.
Kind of a bitch move at the end to just
three singles to win the match, I guess. But at the same time, it's you run the slight risk, right, of doing something stupid, losing a wicket. I mean, you should get over the line. It is the highest run chase in T20 in a T20 match ever. So to have done that with 8 balls to spare and 8 wickets in hand is just simply unbelievable. I don't know if I love it. Like, there's part of me, I think I prefer the slightly lower scoring. There's been some huge scores in the IPL this season. And I think I prefer a 180 run chase where you then bowl well and it comes down to, they need 12 off the last over, but that's going to be potentially tough versus this. I was watching it before we got on and they got it down to 11 and over required with 9 overs to go. And I was like, well, this feels inevitable at this point because they're blasting the ball. They're hitting at least 2 boundaries and over. So 11 and over is going to be super easy. But yeah, that's a quick cricket discussion for us.
That's crazy. As someone who's seen one of the greatest chases,
this blew this out of the water.
History.
Yeah, I think this bumped. I think we saw the 5th highest. I think we're out of the top 5. We didn't even last 12 months. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, that's a shame. Talking about transitioning so smoothly. Talking about inevitability. Obviously, we've been covering the Premier League title race. Manchester City laid down a little bit of a marker last night. No Haaland, no problem. They scored 4 goals.
Actually, reverse of a problem.
Yeah, 4 goals against Brighton, away to Brighton last night, which I think is being treated as if that was like a little bit of a gimme. But like Brighton aren't bad. Like it's always very interesting when you win easily. It's like, oh, that wasn't a potential banana peel at all. Like, of course, City were going to beat Brighton.
I mean, I think one of my takeaways here, although this isn't really related to the title race in particular, is I think we are in real time seeing the curse of Eddie with Saka being a top level English player, because as every week goes by, we see Jude Bellingham and Phil Foden just continue to make great plays and win matches for their teams, and Saka just kind of stand there.
Well, look, I mean, Arsenal won 5-0 this week, so it's a little too hard to be, like I can't be too tough on Saka's most recent performance, but certainly there's been a sizable drop-off in form for him over the past 6 months or so, which is concerning from an England perspective. Obviously, with the Euros not too far away, you do want key players. It's interesting. It's going to be an interesting dilemma for Gareth Southgate, because there are a lot of players who can play that position for England. Like, does this now mean if you're picking the England squad right now, depending on how you configure it, because certain players, like, are you playing Bellingham in a more attacking position, or is he playing more in sort of actually in central midfield? There's a lot of people who would say that the center, you should have, Kobe Mainu alongside Declan Rice with Jude Bellingham in front of them, which then means maybe you have Phil Foden on one side, and at the moment, based on form, Cole Palmer on the other side. Like,
oof, that's scary.
And then on the bench, you've got.
And who gets screwed out of this? Just like he's getting screwed out in his domestic league, Jack Grealish. This poor guy is in the wrong time. But you know what? He doesn't give a shit because he has no idea what's going on.
He loves it. Because not only he loves it, and when England win the Euros, I'm not saying they're actually going to, but like in the scenario that they do, if he hasn't played a minute, he'll still be the happiest player in the squad. He'll go on
and the drunkest guy in the celebration.
2-week drinking binge. Like it's going to be the bender to end all benders.
And then he's going to be posting videos up in Greece, privately training again, back on the pitch.
Yeah. And then we're going to have, he's going to get to the end. We could get to the end of Jack Grealish's career. We've spoken obviously about potential legacies of some of these different players. Like Foden has the huge advantage because of the sheer amount of stuff he's going to win. Although Bellingham is going to give him a run for his money. Like if Real Madrid win the Champions League this year, then you imagine Kylian Mbappe arriving next year, how good that Real Madrid team could be. And then you throw in, like they could be dominating La Liga for the next few years to come, plus the occasional Champions League, plus the occasional, other trophies being thrown in. Jack Grealish could retire with like, oh yeah, he won the Euros with England. He won a Champions League or two potentially with Manchester City, a few Premier Leagues. And and City spent £100 million on him. But like, are we sure Jack Grealish was good? Like it's going to be a weird discussion when he retires, where on paper it could look fantastic, and yet a bit part figure at times in basically every squad he's been part of, aside from Aston Villa.
I mean, you're right. Again, I'm also not saying that England are going to win the Euros and the World Cup, but there is a potential that Jack Grealish wins every major football trophy there is to name.
Yeah, over the course of his career, yeah, he's got a chance. He's definitely got a chance. Like England are good enough;
amazing.
They are contenders. Obviously, in for the next couple of major tournaments, they're legitimate contenders. So yeah, it's a definite possibility, and yet it would be, how good was he? It will be a strange. We'll dedicate a whole podcast when he retires to just was he good?
That'll be one of my favorite podcasts ever. I sent you a meme of a Marvel football meme of the City are inevitable. That people are stealing our lines now that I said that about you a month ago. But I also sent a really good one to former co-host Sam about Southgate choosing his midfield. And it's like one of the Marvel ones where there's like all the heroes in the background. And he's like trying to choose. And then like into the picture comes Thor, like right into his sight of view. And it's like Henderson. It was like really good. It made me laugh really hard.
It's tough, because Henderson's playing well for Ajax at the moment. So he has to actually make a strong case. Additionally, you have Adam Wharton, who left Blackburn in the January transfer window, who is getting rave reviews for Crystal Palace. I don't think he'll be included in the England Euro squad just because it's too soon. Like, he will have had no international experience. And I do think we know with Southgate, he likes picking players who he knows and trusts. So probably Henderson will be in the squad. And you know what? That's more palatable for me now that he made the decision to ditch Saudi Arabia, admitted it was a mistake, went and sought out competitive football. Like, I'm fine with that. He's done what he can do to try and earn his place in that England squad. So if he'd still been playing in the Saudi Farmers League and then was going to the Euros, then I would be losing my mind.
Yeah. I've actually sent former podcast co-host Sam 3 memes in the past 3 days, and he has yet to respond to any of them.
Has he even looked at them?
We are on Sam Watch 2024 right now.
Is he reading them? Have they been seen?
Nope. We're a desperate Sam Watch.
Well, obviously this is very niche. Although we obviously have listeners who may have developed some kind of, relationship when you listen to a podcast with Sam. But obviously we've got people who know Sam very well. He's been on Instagram in that time period. So that to ignore the message, it's always, I hate it when people do it. It's such an asshole move. Like, you're not getting so many messages that you just can't take a look. And you know what? If I send someone a meme or like a reel, whatever, you're not obliged to respond. Like, you can enjoy it and then just see it. Like, I know that sometimes I receive one and go, oh, that's pretty good. But I don't always like write, haha, or whoa, that's pretty funny. Like, sometimes you just appreciate it in the moment and we'll talk later. But yeah, again, Sam's an asshole. I mean,
that's why he's on the podcast anymore.
Speaking of assholes, I don't know if you saw, and staying on the topic of European football, Real Madrid's Endrick, the Brazilian prodigy who will be playing for Real Madrid next season. He's already been signed. He scored for Brazil at Wembley a couple of months ago. Short, incredibly quick, very muscular, kind of player people are just can't wait to see play at a higher level of football. He has a contract with his girlfriend. News came out this week that sort of where there are
I love it already.
Specific stipulations over like how often they can never argue in public. For example, they have to say "I love you" to each other whenever they're leaving parting companies. Like, the contract actually, when you just hear that they have a contract,
it's a love contract. It sounds like a love contract to me.
Sort of. It's basically don't fight, be nice to each other, but it's still weird. And there are penalties in the contract, so they have to pay each other money if one of them is in breach of one of the terms. Very strange. The weirder thing about it, he's 17, she's 21. Now, most 17-year-old boys would probably date a 21-year-old girl. And I'm not going to be one of those, well, if the roles were reversed, it would be awful. But it is true. It's not getting a lot of attention for being kind of creepy. But if this were a 17-year-old female athlete with a 21-year-old guy, everyone would be like, that guy is a total creep.
Good for him on being able to get her to sign that contract. That's all I can say. I'll leave it at that.
Would 17-year-old Frank have drafted a contract for her?
I would have gone the reverse. I would have signed anything she put in front of me.
A restraining order. I'm honored.
Yeah. That would have been the highlight of my life if that girl put a restraining order in front of me to sign.
Yeah, well, again, that's something for listeners to look up to see if they agree with Frank's 17-year-old mind. One thing I did want to say, a big talking point over the last couple, to wrap up European football and a little bit of the Premier League discussion, one of the huge talking points over the last couple of weeks, Pep Guardiola was very critical post-FA Cup about the lack of time between fixtures in England and the risk that it posed to players in terms of the injuries. Arsenal have also like been heavily critical of this fact. This is heading into this midweek set of fixtures, so it will have changed slightly as a result of this latest round of games. However, the team with the shortest recovery period between matches this season, you want to take a guess?
Liverpool.
Correct. An average of 116 hours and 18 minutes between games. City are just behind them with an average of 121 hours and 26 minutes. Arsenal, 134 hours and 41 minutes.
God, what are they complaining about? They're such bitches.
I mean, Newcastle are playing games more frequently than they are. West Ham and Aston Villa are playing games more frequently.
God, Arsenal. They always play the tragic hero role.
Yeah, but and I want to say, in response to that, there was a lot of older players, Graham Souness and Simon Jordan, on their stupid TalkSport show. I like Graham Souness. He was a very good manager at Blackburn Rovers. But he used the term snowflake in speaking about like our snowflake society. It just bothers me. It's so stupid. But
spoken like a true snowflake.
Yeah, I'm sure he would think I was one. But the fact that we don't listen, it's like back in my day when I played in the 70s and the 80s, we used to play a game every 4 minutes and kick the shit out of each other. So what's Jack Grealish complaining about? But it's like, the game has evolved. It's definitely way faster. The expectations are higher. It's more competitive in terms of the talent level across the board. In addition to that, in any sport, why don't we want to listen to the stakeholders, the managers and the players, about what they think could help them to perform better? I'm just slowly dying over here with a cough that's suddenly come on. But
I can finish your thought for you, Eddie, while you cough. I'm a big snowflake, and I think people should get all the liberties they want in this world, and no one should pick on anybody. That sum that up pretty good?
No, that isn't it at all. Like there are plenty of times where I'm not that sympathetic. Like when I hear LeBron James, when you like the NBA, I think is a really bad example. It's 82 games, it's played on the same courts. They have way more benefits now than they used to have. And you can rotate your squad and rest players way more easily if you want to do so. I have less sympathy in that situation. I have sympathy with NFL players when they're like, you're just going to throw more and more games in. We're going to play Sunday, Thursday, and then the following, Monday or whatever. Like our bodies can't take it. There I am sympathetic. We should be listening to those players in those scenarios. Same with rugby. Football, we should listen to it. And the thing I don't get is part of the argument, if you're a supporter of teams in England or if you're English, part of the argument is like, look what they do in Germany and Spain, where they put in way more effort to space out games for teams competing in Europe. For example, Real Madrid's match was moved. It was supposed to be played tomorrow. It was moved to today. We're recording on Friday because to give them more time to prepare for their match against Bayern Munich next week. La Liga made that decision on their behalf. There is no way the Premier League would do that. They consider that to be unacceptable. They say, like, this is not what we do. Okay, but then when we get to the end of the season, we go, why are Spanish and German teams consistently better than English teams in Europe, even though English teams spend way more and on paper often appear to be better? Maybe that's one of the reasons. When we get to the Euros and England crash out in the quarterfinals or the semifinals, and we go, why do English teams consistently fail in the knockout stages of these tournaments? It's like, well, maybe because we've run some of those players into the ground over the course of the season, whereas other countries, we've already adopted like the mini winter break that we never had before. So that's one positive change, I suppose. But, like the other countries do not put that same toll. And there is some thought process from the league of like, how can we help our teams do well in Europe? How can we help our national team do well in major tournaments? And in England, it feels like, how can we put the most games on TV, make the most money? And that's really all we care about. And then if you're complaining, you earn a lot of money. Your job isn't that hard. What are you complaining about? It's okay. It's fine. But then you know why they might fail.
Yeah. I mean, my knowledge of the European football snowflakeology, isn't that great. But I mean, the NFL is another prime example where you still have people giving the, like, back in my day, like, we hit the quarterback and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, one, let's talk to those quarterbacks who currently, like, can't remember.
Oh, sorry, we
even
can't
playing.
because they're drooling right
Yeah.
now.
Exactly. Like, the amount of horrific injuries in the NFL and head injuries that have happened, like, maybe there is a reason then to not do it like you did it back in the day. And second of all, back in the day, like, an O tackle was 270 pounds. These guys now are so strong and so fast. And that, I think, does translate to European football as well, is just the athlete itself has evolved with better training, better systems growing up as they're younger, better, like, academies and high schools and universities, that, like, you're now getting guys in the NFL that are playing O tackle at 330 pounds that can run probably faster than some running backs ran in the 70s. Like, that's how athletic these guys are. And it's like, you can't do the same things you did because like, the level is so much higher. Like, that drives me insane.
No, 100%. And along it's the same lines. It's, again, when you get someone like Graham Souness, again, who I quite like, but he is consistently the old man yelling at the sky when people talk about improvements that can be made to the game. It's like, oh, back in my day, we kicked the shit out of each other, and you think anyone was going to be sympathetic? No one ever asked to come out because they were tired. It's like, yeah, they also smoked at halftime, drank all week. Do you want the modern players to do that? Because you know what? When Jack Grealish goes for a few drinks in Greece this summer, you're probably going to be critical of him for it. But back in your day,
I won't be.
No, yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, you pick and choose when it's like, well, the game is more professional now. We need to set higher standards for players. We need to do this, that, and the other. You can't do what we used to do. But you have to do what we used to do because we were real men and things were tough back then. And, we rode the public bus to matches. Like, it's like, no one's doubting, because Graham Souness was even asked as part of this discussion, well, don't you think, the counter argument would be a lot of players who played in your day wouldn't even be able to play nowadays. And then he went, well, the question you're not asking yourself is how many players from the modern era could play in my era. It's like, it's kind of irrelevant. We don't want to watch them kick the shit out of each other. It wasn't very good. You can watch clips from old matches from the 70s and 80s. It's awful fucking football. I don't want to watch that. It's the same reason I watch Manchester City play Real Madrid instead of watching some Sunday league team. Instead, like, I am trying to choose the more entertaining form of football. There's a balance. I like a hard tackle from now and then. I don't want the physicality to be taken out of the game. But yeah, it pisses me off so much listening to, older people just,
fuck
say,
old people.
Fuck. If you're over 40, you should go die. You know what? I don't want to hear from you. I want no opinions from you on anything. All right. Any other sporting topics to cover now that we've addressed why old people suck?
No, I think that's good.
Perfect.
I thought when you said actually soccer phenom, I thought you were talking about the USA as a buzz over Kevin Sullivan, the
one who signed for City.
Yeah, who just signed for City.
The new Freddie Adu.
Oh yeah, it's insane. My Instagram is blowing up.
Look, I think that's cool. I'll do an anti-USA rant. You've set me up perfectly here.
You mean you're going to be in favor of the USA, or are you going to bash them?
No. I'm going to bash them a little bit. This was a thought. It came to me earlier. I wanted to put it on my notes to bring up in the podcast, and you have set me up. If we had scripted this podcast, I could not have asked for a better delivery. But I was watching the NBA playoffs, and part of the discussion at one moment was like, why are these European guys dominating? Like, why all of a sudden, like, we're looking at the prospect, like Giannis might be the best player in the league in terms of all-round ability. Then you have, Jokic, who's just dominating the league. IQ, like basketball IQ that we've probably never seen before. And then you have, Doncic and stuff. I love it now that we got Europeans coming over, and now arguably out of the top 6 or 7, the majority of the top 6 or 7 best players in the NBA right now are not American, because I hope this wakes Americans up to the one argument that was like, if our best fucking athletes played soccer, we would be unstoppable. Could you imagine LeBron James playing? Oh, Messi wouldn't be able to stop him. It's like, hey, guess what? Our best athletes aren't playing basketball, and they're coming over and embarrassing your best athletes right now.
Wow. Here we go.
Maybe wake yourselves up to the fact that there are some good athletes elsewhere in the world too. Your athletes
so who do you think is going to win the Olympics then in basketball?
Well, I mean, I don't know. You got Joel Embiid playing for you. He's about as American as
Not for me. I'm not coaching the team.
Maybe you should be. But look, yes, the U.S. has the best strength and depth, undoubtedly. They will win the gold medal almost certainly. But, you are looking at, and it's a big challenge, right, for the U.S. because there's those big discussions that you get where it's like, can Wembayama be the face of the league? He's not American. Like people saying that it's not possible. You can't have the face of the league who's not American. I disagree with you on that. It's just, I don't mean you. Obviously, that's not your thought. But no, it just does entertain me. Again, America has incredible athletes and one of the best countries in the world for sport. I'm not saying they are not, but it makes me laugh that I've had to listen for 20 years about like, well, if our NFL and NBA players played your sport,
You done?
Yeah, for now.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Shogun. That was a good show, huh?
Yeah, I liked it. So what'd you think of the finale?
So yeah, I guess this is our chance for us to talk Shogun
season finale.
Season finale, potentially series finale.
Yes, it is. It's series finale.
Have you listened to the discussion from the co-creators? Because
I have. I listened to 3 podcast interviews on them.
When did they interview it though? When did they do the interviews?
Like yesterday.
Oh, because I've read some interviews with them where they're less than certain. There's room for the possibility of this story continuing. But from what I've heard from them, this story is over. This was the story they wanted to tell. This is how the book did it. This is how it ends. They are open to the possibility of another book that he has written, because he's written multiple books. It's kind of set in this universe of, I guess, Asia being the universe, like Asian history type story, but that it won't be like a season 2 Shogun. Like it won't be Blackthorn and Toranaga like just roaming the streets. Yeah, I would just say I agree. I think that is the likely outcome. I wouldn't completely rule out that you could have some potential overlap there in terms of one, trying to connect things.
Sad part I heard. Well, here's the part I am not excited to hear is that I think it's the granddaughter of the author Clavel was part of she has like the rights, I think, to the books and things like that. And apparently she's been approached like, hey, what do you think about another book of his? And I'm sure they'd be like, yeah, let's $200 million for sure. But it likely won't be like the same showrunners, and things like that. So that's the sad part is I think the showrunners did a phenomenal job. Like this took them a decade to do this, basically from start to finish of all the kind of prep and then getting everyone together and then adapting it. And like, it took them a very long time. And you can tell like there's a lot of attention to detail in the show. So it would be a shame if they just bring in like, I don't know, like Michael Bay to do like a Shogun inspired series.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the interview I saw with them too, just purely from the production process, they were like, this is a little bit of a unique television approach because they everything was filmed ages ago and then the editing process is super long. So it also feels weird to them. They were acknowledging that in terms of, it's like asking someone if they want to have a kid, but like when the kid's 3, not just when they've had the kid born. So, it will be interesting to see. I think some version of this show will reappear, whether it is, hey, we're going to do a True Detective style TV show and like the seasons maybe make reference vaguely to previous seasons, but there's no character overlap, I think. But I would be surprised given how popular it's been, both
Yeah.
in terms of from a critical standpoint and viewership, for them to be like, no, we're good. That's it. We'll move on to new projects.
It's going to be like Shogun : the blah 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 era or something like that.
Shogun-san. But what did I think about the final episode? I thought it wasn't the best episode. I think obviously they're limited in terms of how the book finished, so it felt kind of like it was the perfect setup for a second season. Like it feels like you're almost ending on a cliffhanger, but not quite. That you're about to get to the really exciting part, and you're not quite there. So that was a little bit unsatisfying, I suppose, from a viewer's perspective. Overall, it's good. In terms of, I was slightly confused at first to the cuts of Blackthorn as an older person, and I thought that was a flash forward. I didn't realize that was him dreaming. Like that took me a while to piece together.
I don't fully get why that was there. That didn't add anything to the story to me.
No. All it did was confuse me of, they're ruining it. He definitely lives. Like that was my initial thing. The episode starts with seeing him as an older person. There's no indication that it's a dream really. And I just thought, okay, this is a show that was willing to kill main characters, and you've just told me that Blackthorn doesn't die.
Yeah.
So that was the one bit that it just felt like an unnecessary addition to the book, to the story. Maybe within the book, in the way, like if you describe this is him dreaming of a life where he's returned home that he's never going to get. Like if you spin all of that way within a novel, then the dream sequences probably make way more sense. But just in random cut scenes on a TV show, kind of didn't really add anything.
Or if you built that up through, and there was like several episodes where you saw flash forwards of him, and then you always think he's going to leave. And then like, boom, at the 10th episode, you find out like, oh, that was just a dream of his. He doesn't actually leave. Then it kind of hits a little bit, maybe. Yeah. I still don't love that idea of just like tricking your audience for the sake of tricking them for like a aha moment. But like that didn't add anything. That was the only part that I really didn't enjoy about the finale. I didn't mind that there wasn't a huge epic battle scene. That was never what the show is about when you think about it. Like there was never really any big battle scenes. It was always like, besides that one where there was a couple of like arrows flying back and forth when Toranaga was dressed as a woman trying to escape. It's actually kind of funny to think about that. But most of it was just like aftermath shots. Like when Ashido kills all those, the one reagents guys or whatever, Regents guys, it's like just the aftermath of it, right? So I was okay with that. But that dream sequence thing, just didn't hit for me.
Yeah, no, it really didn't add anything. And I honestly I wasn't certain it was a dream sequence until he throws the crucifix away. Like that
I don't think anyone does.
No, but I think maybe other people, because he was always like coming in and out. Like they were giving you the clue because he was like going back to reality at moments he was waking up. So I'm sure there were people who were like, I get it. Even for, but to me, until he dumped that off, it was like, oh, okay. But in the future, he supposedly has that. So unless we're about to watch him deep dive like 40 meters down to recover it, I think that was a dream.
That's actually season 2. Season 2 is just 10 episodes of him searching for this crucifix.
Yeah. But yeah, that was
teaching everyone else how to dive.
Yeah, exactly. Foreshadowing. It was, but yeah, overall, I thought it was enjoyable. It's a really good TV show. I have to say, I think he was kind of the weak point of the show. Like I'm not saying he was bad. I still enjoyed him, but the weird semi Tom Hardy and Taboo impression he was doing throughout, I kind of felt like he was the weakest element, but he wasn't bad. But if I was like, which character in a sense did I almost enjoy the least? It was sort of him.
I think Yabushige is the MVP of this show. Just like his general reactions and is like, what? ooh, like when he does that all the time, it's so good. And then when he just literally goes batshit crazy at the end of like this episode, after he like realizes that he's killed Mariko, and the first he tries to catch the catfish that isn't there, then he does like that weird like, teach me how to dive, teach me how to dive, and then Blackthorn's like, pull yourself together, man. Like that's so good. Like and then I think the scene with him and Toranaga at the end was really really good. And I think, yes, it's expository, which like you never want a show to be expository, but they did it in a good way. And I kind of enjoyed that. And that's for those, I guess, who don't know, that's the book ends in a similar way, except it's even more expository where it's literally just Toranaga talking to himself and being like, so you want to know what happens? I'm going to tell you what happens. And like, so at least in this sense, there's like a reason as why he's kind of telling this. Cause I mean, they are friends, you know, and I think they have a respect for each other. So I like that. The only other part that, I mean, I thought it was very good. Like it's different than what you expected. You always expected the battle and it just never really happens. The thing that I don't like, I think, is I haven't read the book, but from what I've heard on, you know, podcasts and stuff that have done it, is that at the end you're really left with in the book, like, is Toranaga at all a good person? You know, like he keeps talking about this for the greater good for Japan, but at the end of the day, his secret thing is he just wants to be Shogun. And in the book, it's a little more clear that he's maybe not a great person. Like, I think one of the things they say is at the end, when they have that battle that isn't really a battle, they still do kill all of Ishido's men. And then they capture Ishido, bury him up to his head, and invite all the villagers of Osaka to come with a bamboo saw and slowly saw his neck off. And it lasts 3 days before Toranaga finally puts him out of his misery. Like, so that, like, you know, like, oh, maybe Toranaga is a little bit of an asshole, you know, like, and I get it. He kind of is. Like, he's sacrificed, you know, 2 of his closest friends just so he could be Shogun. But I still don't have that, like, he's really not a good person feeling at the end as much, I think, as you could have, which really would have made the show at the end, I think, impactful a little more.
And you know, if he had that plan in mind, they should have included. He should have told that to Yabashiga, because that would have been the future he was really regretting. The prospect of a guy having his head slowly chopped off. That would have been the type of death he dreamt of. So
yeah,
that would have really made him feel like he was missing out on this incredible future. I think you're right there, because the only thing that alludes to that thought is like Yabashiga's realization of like, oh, you're like us. Like when he expresses that, like, you just want power like we all do, whereas I thought you were above that. And even then you're like, well, it feels like he's always kind of wanted power. Like that doesn't necessarily feel like he's going too far away from what he always expressed. And also they didn't maybe go far enough to drill home that this was maybe a sign of sort of evil.
Yeah. Or just that he's misleading people a little more than you think. I thought that just a little bit more of that would have been better at the very end, to kind of just give you that, like, oh man, like no one's really good in this show. You know, like, you know, like they're.
And obviously the book does the same. It's a little unsatisfying for him to be like, this is what will happen. But we don't know it happens. And there's a certain appeal to that we end with him just dreaming of what his future looks like. But I guess it would have been more interesting to be like, no, this definitely happens, or maybe it doesn't. You know, like, are we supposed to believe that everything he predicted then is 100% going to play out? Or is there an element of doubt that still remains? That was also sort of unclear, and that bit also bothered me, of like, is this full exposition of the future, or is this just him saying, well, this is the plan, and I'm very confident it will happen, but still could go wrong.
Yeah. And the other thing that's in the book that's not in the show, that I don't know if it adds to it or not, is the reason that the heir's mother ends up like going with Toranaga, like siding with him. It's one, because she sees like her old good friend, die on the hands of clearly Ishido and this and that turns her. But the other reason is supposedly she thinks that Toranaga knows the true like heritage of the heir. So the heir isn't the Taiko's son. In the book, she actually like just randomly has sex with some guy who looks like the heir, and that's how she becomes pregnant. And it wasn't like a miracle she became pregnant. She kind of did it on her own. And she thinks Toranaga knows that. So she sides with him so that like he doesn't say that, which I guess would have been really hard to do in the show. But I thought that was just kind of interesting because they kind of allude to it in the show. Like, how did she get pregnant? Like, who is the father? But they didn't really get into it so much.
Yeah, that might have been a tough thing. I agree with you. That could have been a little bit tough to weave into that storyline without it feeling forced. But yes, that would have.
But it is a cool addition to the story.
It would have further explained the sort of heel turn that is better than just like, my childhood friend died and I felt really sad, so fuck it, I'm gonna change sides. Like,
yeah,
it's a little bit. It seems a little bit quick. Speaking of old people, though, one other criticism, just to kind of lay into Blackthorn, felt like the makeup department went a little overboard in making him old and weak in those dream sequences too. Like, we didn't have to make him look as if he'd been dragged from the depths of the ocean before being laid on a bed like that. Old people in the old days looked like old people now. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't.
Yeah.
It's not like they, oh my God, back then we used to be horrific once we were over 65.
He looks older than the woman in Titanic.
He looks
like 105.
He's got like milky eyes. Just every centimeter of his face is wrinkled. He looks terrible.
It is a shame though that it's gone. And it's always a shame, I think, when you look back on things like this, that I don't think it should have been drawn out a lot, but I easily think maybe 2 seasons of 8 episodes would have been doable and would have been enjoyable. Like, a little more, I think, would have been good. Not too much. Like, this is not a 3 or 4 season show, but this could have been a like 1.5 season, given a little more time to let things kind of build and characters to build a little more even.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could have even just made this season a tiny bit longer. Like, you even think that final episode, it wrapped up a lot of storylines really quickly, where that could have easily been, just the final episode could have been, I hate the 2-parter approach, but I don't mean in terms of that perspective, just in like, you could have had broken up the focus on those different storylines into 2 episodes. And it was like, oh, the boat's been sunk. Oh, now let's quickly explain what the backstory to that was. And we've instantly figured out that this guy was a traitor. Let's just deal with that right off the bat. Like, within the first 6 minutes of the final episode, you're like, oh, okay, that's like the 2 of the big things we were waiting to see what happened are just gone. And then, it was sort of a little bit of waiting around, and then 5-6 minutes of exposition at the end, and you were done. And it felt, you could have had an extra episode and I would have been satisfied. That doesn't. But it was very good, and it's better to leave people wanting more, right, than to have people feeling like you went on for too long. But it was a very good show. It leaves a big void in terms of my TV viewing, because I don't really have any good shows on the go at the moment now.
Yeah, so we started watching Baby Reindeer on Netflix. That's
the show about the like sort of weird stalker.
Yeah. It's a little much for me. It's like one of those points where it's like almost annoying, like the stalkering-ish aspect of it. It's more of like a binge show. I think you can definitely binge through it pretty quick. We got like 3 episodes in one day, and I also started Ripley on Netflix, based off of the Tom Ripley books of like Talented Mr. Ripley storyline kind of thing. And that's pretty good so far. I really like Andrew Scott, so I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, and look, if I'm being honest, it's not the worst time of the year for me to not have a ton of TV shows to watch. We got the end of the Champions League, end of the Premier League, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. We're not too far away from the Euros. You know, it's if there's going to be a period where I don't have as many TV shows to watch, this is the good time period for it to happen. Like, my nightmare is when it's like July, August. That's when I do need TV shows. So this isn't so bad, but yeah, I'm going to have to, obviously we'll keep listeners posted if we find anything worth recommending, but I'm going to have to do a little bit of
people are excited about Fallout.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about Fallout. I never got into the video games, so I don't have like that attachment to it. That being said, I never played The Last of Us, and I really enjoyed that, so it doesn't really mean anything. But it's also like that weird mixture between it being funny and being dark, and that to me sometimes is a very difficult line to walk, and I don't always enjoy it.
All right. Well, I guess with that, we'll call it a day.
Sounds good.
All right. Talk to you later.
See ya.
Cheerio.